At first glance, this feels like an unorthodox video, and you wouldn't be incorrect. Chloris, the ostensible personal driver for Senator Mon Mothma, and secretly a spy for the ISB assigned to make sure Mothma isn't doing rebellious activity, feels like a mere small supporting character who meets an unceremonious end at the hands of the brave titular character, Cassian Andor. And once again, you would largely be correct in not being too enamored with the character. He's not supposed to be a fascinating person. In fact, his character relies on him being wholly unremarkable, generally incompetent, and by the standards of the ISB, well, an idiot. But a very small moment in the Season 2 episode, Welcome to the Rebellion, involving Kloris stuck with me for months now. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who noticed it when it happened, and I wanted to analyze what could be happening here. It's been over a half a year since Andor's final season finished airing, but as a courtesy, before we get into the details of Welcome to the Rebellion, if you have not seen Andor Season 2 and you don't want to be spoiled, pack your things, because you're leaving. And then feel free to return and watch as I try to answer the question of what was Kloris feeling during this crucial moment at Andor, and why it almost doesn't matter what he was feeling because the purpose has been served. I hope you all enjoy. Riddled throughout the Empire, often shoulder to shoulder with the intelligent Imperial servants of Palpatine from the lowest soldier to the highest Moff or general, are people of sheer and utter incompetence. If the 2 seasons of Andor have taught us anything, it's that the victories and survival of the rebellion relied just as much on Imperial laziness as rebel tenacity or intelligence. One could argue that we can thank people like Kloris for unintentionally making it possible for people like Mothma and Cassian to get to where they need to go. You see, Imperials like Kloris make up the vast majority of the Empire's rank and file. The Empire is filled to the brim with people that live their daily lives furthering the interests of Imperial brass. People who don't think twice about the pain and suffering that's inflicted on innocents by the Empire every day. To Kloris and people like him, it's a job. His job is to report on Mon Mothma and make sure she remains loyal, like he does, like everyone is supposed to. Imperial peace and quiet, for many, likely means just that, peace and quiet. No one's shaking the boat and making everyone's lives harder from their perspective. Does it stem from some deep-seated ideological desire to create order in the galaxy like Cyril? Possible, but I personally doubt it. In Kloris' head, it's likely simply just what you do. I doubt he's ever actually taken a serious moment to think about the institution he works for, and I think that's a major factor in what I'm about to elaborate on today. We know next to nothing about Kloris' background, aside from the fact that he hails from the former Republican, later Imperial capital of Coruscant, and is a field agent for the dreaded Imperial Security Bureau, tasked with monitoring Imperial Senator Mon Mothma, who has been under increased surveillance thanks to her rather public humanitarian reputation, which naturally captures the Empire's attention. As the walls close around Mon Mothma and the stress of balancing her job as a senator and her occupation as a financier for the growing rebellion, Kloris, who Mothma pretty much immediately suspected is a mole, regularly takes her from place to place, oftentimes not even realizing that he's chauffeuring her to other rebel contacts, who then discuss valuable information right under his nose. It's a long-lasting occupation. Mothma can't fire Kloris because she knows it'll tip off ISB officials that she suspects him. And Kloris has to keep up the thinly veiled facade that he is merely her driver, and nothing more. In the hands of a more competent man, it would be a dangerous game of cat and mouse between two people that are trying to BS each other. But fortunately for the rebellion, and unfortunately for Kloris, he's at best a bit ham-fisted and lax, and at worst, once again, an idiot. But then we get to the fateful days following the Gorman Massacre. Everyone's on edge and wondering what the next move is going to be. Countless innocent civilians have been killed in what is quite obviously the most nakedly brutal act of oppression against Imperial citizens in recent memory. An entire world and culture condemned to gouge mining and eventually rendered uninhabitable, and those on Gorman that stood against it struck down mercilessly. Senators like Bail Organa and Mon Mothma look on in horror as Gorman Senator Dazi Oren is dragged away by Imperial soldiers in the Senate building, as he screams of the injustices his people have been subjected to. "It's my people today, and yours tomorrow," he shouts as he passes Bail Organa. It's clear that Mothma has decided she has remained silent for far too long, and with the encouragement of Senator Organa and the assistance of Luthen Rael, Clea Markey, and of course Cassian Andor, along with a few unexpected and random acts of insurrection, Mothma's finest moment becomes the galactic civil wars shot heard round the world. Cassian listens to it in the hallway as he waits to extract her. Legret painfully listens as his underlings fail to shut it down. I'm sure Palpatine listened to it in between his evil cackling sessions. From the halls of the Senate, all the way to the farthest reaches of every active HoloNet-ready area of the galaxy. Mothma's words condemning the genocide of the Gorman people, her rejection of Palpatine's reign, and her call to rise up against misinformation and authoritarian rule are heard and digested from all sides. As Mothma's words echo throughout the Senate chamber, the building, and ultimately the entire galaxy, Chloris remains in the speeder that he uses to ferry Mothma to various locations, being told to stay on alert and be prepared for any shenanigans. And Chloris is listening to the speech too, listening to this brave woman, who he's known for several years now, deciding to risk her entire fortune, family, and life, standing up for what she believes is right. It's only a brief moment, but there's a look on Chloris's face as he silently listens to Mon speak. Is he just blankly staring and white noising the words? Are they resonating with him? Is this the culmination of everything he's perhaps seen on the news? And even through the veneer of propaganda, he recognizes, perhaps too late, but recognizes nonetheless that he may be on the wrong side? Even when I first watched the episode, his actions were intriguing. It is of course highly possible that he was just in fact a moron and handled trying to capture Mothma in the most boneheaded way imaginable, leaving his blaster in the speeder, not reporting to his superiors or being available when they needed him to be. But was it more than just that? Maybe he was genuinely conflicted about what he just heard. Even if it wasn't about an epiphany for supporting the rebellion, maybe it was as simple as after over 3 years of being Mothma's chaperone, even as a spy, he started to, and hear me out here, have a sense of genuine care for her well-being. It sounds ridiculous, I know, but is it really that hard to believe? Kloris is with Mothma likely several times a day, every day for at least 3 years. Maybe someone as good-natured and warm-hearted as Mothma, whose charisma and compassion radiate in her actions and words, is the exact kind of recipe for someone like Kloris to eventually be softened by being with her. As we know, though, we never really get the opportunity to definitively find out whether Kloris was ready to drop everything and help or not, because Cassian Andor never took that chance, and to be honest, why would he? An ISB plant sent to monitor a sitting senator for traitorous activity, now approaching Cassian and Mothma right before they can make their escape? In Cassian's eyes, once Mothma announced her doubt over Kloris, the only option was to take him out, and I can't say that I blame him for not wanting to take that risk. The story moves past Kloris, of course, and Mothma makes her grand escape on her way to become a founding member of the Greater Rebel Alliance. But Kloris's final moments serve a greater purpose than the ambiguous question of whether he had a change of heart or would have helped Mothma escape. I'd argue that the very fact that it's left up to interpretation is enough for me to look at this as an important example of how the rebellion's message of freedom, compassion, democracy, and care for our fellow sentient beings can touch everyone. It won't always, but it can. That shot of Kloris listening to Mothma's words feels very deliberate, as is his leaving the blaster in the speeder, and uncertainly walking towards Mothma with that look on his face like he can't believe he's doing whatever he's about to do before he gets killed by Andor. But then, Andor does something that a lot of other stories don't really do. They don't give us the definitive answer to the question of if Mothma's words touched him, and that's what makes it more powerful, more real. It hits harder that Kloris is just another potential turn, and not an Agent Callus kind of turn where he gets a full redemption arc. Not to cleanse Kloris of his occupation as an ISB agent, but then again, that's broadly what Star Wars is about, right? Hope, redemption, the idea that it's never too late to start doing the right thing and making things right in others' lives. That one little moment in an episode where so much is happening, where at first glance it just seems like a bumbling underling that failed for a final time, and in fairness could still be that, ends up being a potential look into the mind of someone very quickly going through a crisis of faith. The best part about this is that it could all end up just being fan fiction. Tony and Henry Gilroy could come out tomorrow and say, "Nah, man, we intended for Kloris to be fully hell-bent on capturing Mothma, he just did it in the stupidest way imaginable." And I'd accept it. But the mere fact that there could even be speculation about Kloris's feelings about all of this is a testament to the attention to detail that the writers and directors have, and the excellent acting of Lee Ross, who plays Exmar Kloris in the show. The potential conflict within Kloris is just one small part of what I consider to be a top 3 episode of the entire show, but its implications serve as a powerful example of how words of freedom, standing up for what's right in the world, can move anyone. Perhaps only for a moment, but a crucial moment nonetheless. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button, comment your thoughts, and subscribe, as well as hit the bell icon so that you're among the first to see any new content going forward. This, as always, is Mesa Windu. Please continue to keep each other safe and love each other in these crazy times we live in. And always remember, the Force will be with you. Always.